It is a super week on Birds 365 because we are leading up to the Super Bowl, which of course is the Cincinnati Bengals against St. Louis Rams. That'll be part of the conversation today here on Birds 365. But as always, we've got some Eagles thoughts, points, issues to lay at your feet. The Mac guys, Jody McDonald and John McMullen. You and I are going to take a couple of days off here. The entire JAKIB Media YouTube channel is. So we do want to talk about the upcoming game. Before I hold your feet to the fire and ask you to make a pick on the game, where are you watching the game? What are you doing on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm not at the Super Bowl, so a little bit of a more relaxing day. I
Now,
think I'm going to feel
I'm sorry to
bad.
interrupt. Your wife understands the Eagles aren't playing, but yet it's an important football
No,
day,
she
right?
does not.
She
No,
she does
no,
still doesn't
no.
understand that.
I think she does. Actually, the Super Bowl, I think she understands, but mainly because of the commercials, I would think. But yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, if you're out at the Super Bowl, we were just talking before the show. We're trying to get our Cincinnati Bengals buddy on the show. It's a busy week for you if the team you cover is
Right.
in the Super Bowl. It's a busy week anyway. I used to have a national column, so I would be out there quite a bit. And it's constant during the whole week. So, um, I feel a little bit left out when I'm not there, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But it's going to be nice, not having to deal with the travel and things like that. So I guess it depends how you look at it.
And one of the things I've always found, and I've been a national sports talk show host for the last 10 years, and because I'm a weekend guy, I'm not a guy who's going to be going to the Super Bowl. But we got stuff that the network is doing from the Super Bowl all week long. It's always interesting when you're in a position like mine where, yes, you're doing a national show, but you follow a local team to try and figure out what they're doing that week. There are NFL events, there are certain things going on at the NFL that have effect on all teams, and you're also trying to keep your own house in order. Why do I get the feeling that the Eagles are kind of out of the loop in this Super Bowl? Am I just giving you my own personal feelings here, or is this a legit point to make that yeah, other teams are doing other things. Certainly, the two teams that are playing are much more involved this week than the Eagles and or anybody else. But even at that, other teams doing more stuff, changing their staff around. Why do I feel like the Eagles are just distant observers this week?
Well, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. They did lose a couple personnel people, so that kind of works. Personnel departments are a little bit different. They kind of work on a different schedule. Their sort of upheaval is after the draft, so it's a little bit different. Whereas the coaching staffs is obviously after the season. Um, the Eagles went through that. They went through that upheaval, and some would argue I'm one of them, even though it worked out okay for them. That they probably shouldn't have underwent that upheaval, but they went through it. And now it's just about, okay, is anybody going to get plucked from our staff? And Jonathan Gannon didn't get plucked, so that was helpful. You still have to wait and see. There's a lot of teams. I mean, we find that every position is now filled, Jody, after Lovie Smith got the Texans
Head
job and
coach, yes.
Dennis Allen got the Saints job. So all 9 for 9 are now filled. Now you got to populate the coaching staffs. Now, presumably New Orleans is going to keep most of the same guys, but we'll see. And Lovey as well, because he was there. But still, I mean, there are, you know, coaches that are going to be pulling from other staffs. We already heard rumors of Kevin Patullo, Brian Johnson. That didn't come out. That didn't manifest itself. So you still have to wait and see how these guys populate their staffs. But it's looking pretty good for the Eagles as far as continuity, something we talk about all the time. I think it's positive to be very quiet this time. If you're not quiet this time of year, it's usually because you didn't have a good season last year. Not that the Eagles had a great season, but they made the playoffs, and I think they overachieved from most people's perspective. And I think most people think they're back on the right track and back heading in the right direction. And I would count myself in that category.
Let me play a little devil's advocate here, because it truly is a catch-22. As of right now, the Eagles have made 0 changes to their staff, which means they're very happy about their staff, which is a good thing. But it also means that you're right. No one got plucked, to use your word. I like it, from their staff to join another team's staff. You like when other teams have interest in your guys, because that means you're getting respect around the league. You open some other people's eyes. So there's an upside, but there's a downside to when your staff is completely intact. You mentioned not every staff is filled out across the National Football League. There are still jobs openings. People can still be fired, and then you're going to need somebody. But we've got a couple of weeks postseason, and there have been a whole bunch of coaching changes. I'm not just talking about the head coach. As you correctly pointed out, 9 for 9. The head coaches are done in the league. Now it's all just about staffs underneath. No one has plucked an Eagles coach. Am I right to say it's both a good thing and a bad thing?
Yeah, I would tend to say, look, the Eagles had a very young coaching staff. We talked about it a lot. So sometimes it's a process, and the fact that, if guys weren't getting mentioned, so if there wasn't leaks about Kevin Petula or leaks about Brian Johnson, I'd probably lean more towards what you're saying is it's a negative thing, like nobody's got any interest. As long as I start to hear those names and then they go in a different direction, I think it's a positive sign in a weird way. And then you have to look at the rules. The rules are kind of very, as I mentioned, they changed recently in 2020. You can no longer block guys like Brian Johnson, for instance, to get an offensive coordinator job. In the past, if he was under contract, you could block him. And the Eagles have done that in the past. And a lot of times when you block assistant coaches, it doesn't even get reported. A couple of years ago, the Eagles wanted to talk to Mike Kapka about their offensive coordinator position. And they knew Andy Reid wasn't going to let him do it because he was under contract. And they never even ended up, because they got those back channels. Obviously, they still have a good relationship with Andy Reid. And they said, look, he's under contract. I'm not going to let him go. And ultimately, you don't even put the request in. So things can happen that way. So number one, everybody, you do kind of know coaches usually sign, assistant coaches usually sign 2-year deals, usually. And when you have a new coaching staff, you pretty much got a good feel that everybody's under contract through 2022 this offseason. So most of them are under contract. There's a few holdovers, the Jeff Stoutlands of the world, the Aaron Moorheads, they could have a different contract. But these things are not public, like player contracts, which ultimately become, so you have a difficult time. Look, if a guy's expiring his contract, there's a big story nationally. I'll give you that example. Eric Bieniemy is out of contract now. So he can go anywhere he wants, technically. If he wants to go outside of Kansas City, he can go outside of Kansas City. If he wants to find a play calling job as an offensive coordinator, maybe that gets him closer to a head coaching job. He can go in that direction. He doesn't need the Chiefs' permission. Most of the Eagles coaches, the vast majority, are under contract. Next season, it'll be the opposite. And you'll see certain guys expiring. Maybe they want to look elsewhere. Maybe they want to live somewhere else. It could be something as simple as that. So there's a lot of things that play into assistant coaches. But overall, I would say the fact that you saw certain high-profile guys at least get some interest, and the Eagles so far have been able to keep everybody, I think most of that is a positive. And to be honest, Jody, whether it was called Carson Walsh back in the day, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm an expert on position coaching in the NFL. I tend to default to the head coach. If the head coach wants a guy, let him have the guy. And that's one of my issues with Doug Peterson when he was here, as you know.
All right, then I'm going to ask you a question that you might not be able to answer, but I'm hoping you can at least theorize a little bit for me because there was one hire in the league yesterday, not related to the Eagles, but has an Eagle quasi issue attached to it. The Detroit Lions elevated their tight end coach to become their offensive coordinator. Ben Johnson, former tight end coach, now their OC. He was down there in Mobile this week with the Lions coaching staff. Deuce Staley, who is the assistant head coach, was the guy that Matt Campbell tapped into to Dan Campbell, excuse me, to do their head coaching. He wanted to give him a platform to show his chops, which I think was a good thing out of Coach Campbell. But Deuce did not get, as far as I know, one interview. No teams of the 9 that had head coaching openings asked for permission to interview Deuce Staley. None. He does this assistant coach, elevated the head coach in the Pro Bowl thing. Might have been a little late, but again, no interviews. And I would have thought, and please correct me if I'm wrong, him getting the offensive coordinator position would have been advantageous to him going forward for next year or the year after when coaching openings prop up, and we know they do every year in the NFL. Number one, why didn't they make Deuce the offensive coordinator in Detroit? Number two, why did he not get one interview in a year where the advancement for minority candidates is getting an artificial push because of the Brian Flores lawsuit? How does Deuce take an offer in interviews for head coaching position?
Well, on that, I would just point to 3, whatever. What have we played? 17 games. They had a tie. So what the heck were they? 3, 13, and 1. Sadly, I got to do the math there. That's why he didn't get any head coaching jobs. I mean, if there were 13, 3, and 1, he'd have a bunch. He'd probably be a head coach. I think it's as simple as that, even though it seems kind of silly. If you think somebody's a good coach, a lot of it has to do with personnel. And obviously, the Lions were not equipped to win this season, to say the least. So that would be number one. As far as the offensive coordinator, yeah, I don't know. A lot of people talked about Deuce here being the offensive coordinator. And I don't have this confirmed, but I did hear from one source at one point that he was offered the offensive coordinator job, and he didn't want it. He preferred assistant head coach. Now, here it was described to me because it wasn't play calling. He wanted to sort of learn more about the entire aspect of the job. And to be honest, I heard that and I kind of scoffed and I kind of, I was like, okay, whatever. You try to spin it as best as possible. But that was before, like it stunned me when Doug got COVID and Deuce was running things. Like I didn't think that was going to happen. I really didn't. I really thought it was more of and I always joke about job titles in this league. And I use the old Cheers episode. I've told you that story. To use it as an example. The title doesn't matter. It's the job description that matters. And I thought it was sort of, all right, let's give Deuce a pat on the back and let's give him a title. But no, he was really the assistant head coach. And he was in charge of the developmental program here. And he, as I said, he ran the team when Doug was out with COVID and had to be in South Jersey. So it was real, and that's the job he wanted here more than offensive coordinator. Because remember, here Doug was calling plays. Now in Detroit, I don't know the setup. I know Dan Campbell was really, really, really impactful when he hired Deuce and saying, "No, this is my assistant head coach," similar to here. And you see what happened in the Senior Bowl. It was Deuce handling it. I think it's the same setup. I don't think he's interested. Now, here's the question, though. Is he getting the right advice?
Right.
I would
that's
say,
what my question is based on.
I would say no, he's not getting the right advice because people are going to do what I did. And they're going to say, perception is greater than reality. And they're going to say, they're just, now I think it's not true. I think it's real. I think he was the assistant head coach here. I know he was. And I think he's the assistant head coach there. But perception is greater than reality.
Well, but here's Jody McDonald's perception, and it sounds like John McMullen's perception. Let's get the reality. 9 new head coaches in the National Football League this year, right, John?
Mm-hmm.
How many of them were elevated from assistant head coach?
Yeah, I know.
None. They were all coordinators who got elevated, or in some cases, like Lovie Smith, former head coaches who got elevated. None were quote unquote assistant head coaches.
I think Lovie might have had that title, but you're right. He's a former head coach.
He was the DC too. If he was the assistant head coach, he was the assistant head coach and defensive coordinator.
Yes, he was. His title was, I just looked it up. His title was associate head coach and defensive coordinator.
Right. So what do you notice? Defensive coordinator. Yeah. All the guys who got jobs were coordinators last year. So Deuce might love his job. He might have loved the position and the responsibilities he had when he was under Dougie P here in Philadelphia. He might have really enjoyed the job as he did it this year in Detroit. All I'm saying is it's not helping him if his main goal is to get the big chair and the big whistle. That doesn't seem to be a way the league perceives advancement to the head coach position. That they want a hands-on coordinator who's calling plays either offensively or defensively, and he didn't do that this year for the Lions, and he's not going to do it again next year. That's why I started this whole conversation with they made their tight ends coach their offensive coordinator. Why wouldn't they do that for Deuce if it wasn't Deuce saying, I don't want to do it? And if Deuce doesn't want to do it, does he really want to become head coach?
Yeah, it's a fair point, and I agree with what you're saying in the fact that because we've had this discussion before. I'd rather have a CEO coach. Like if I were an NFL owner, I'd rather have a CEO coach. One of the things I got excited about Matt Eberflus, because I never hear this from young coaches. He was saying, "Yeah, I might not call the defensive plays because I got to be the head coach." And I loved hearing them say that. We'll see how it works out. But you're right. The perception is, no, you got to call plays. You got to call plays or you're not going to get looked at. And yeah, if Deuce had that opportunity, he probably should have taken it. Even if he wasn't calling plays, if he had the opportunity here, if he has the opportunity in Detroit, even if he wasn't going to call plays here. But Doug kept the other people involved. Yeah, if he wants to be head coach, you should take that coordinator title.
The reason I went down that rabbit hole was because they made their title. I didn't want to say I thought it was a foregone conclusion, but I thought it was pretty obvious that they go down to Mobile. Coach Campbell steps aside so that Deuce can actually do the head coach responsibilities in the Senior Bowl. And then they make somebody else the OC. Just didn't add up to me. All right. We are the Mac and Mac guys here on Birds 365. Again, in case you don't know, the JAKIB Media YouTube channel is going to take a little bit of a Super Bowl break. So we're going to be off the next couple of days leading up to the game and the first couple of days after the game. We're enjoying doing this for you guys every day in and day out. We'll miss it the next couple of days. But if you're used to tuning in to the Birds 365 time slot here, remember you got everything. It's on there on YouTube. You can go back and watch any of the good shows that we have done previously. When you're doing that, even though we're not here to annoy you, hit the like button because we need our algorithm to stay good. And you may want to go back and listen to this show because we think it's going to be a very good one because we got 2 good guests coming your way. A little bit later, Bob Grotz of the Delco Times, Mr. Optimism, is going to hop aboard. Then we'll have some fun with him, see what he thinks about the Super Bowl. But our good buddy from Philly Mag going to join us next. Paul Domowitch, first guest up here on Birds 365.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go for the view. that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go to bed whenever you want. Or don't. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
You know you like being right. That's why you should enroll in an Independence Blue Cross plan. It's the health plan chosen by more people than any other, with more doctors and hospitals, more benefits that really rock, more of the coverage you want for the right price, including free doctor visits 24/7. It's a choice you can feel good about, because when you're right, you're right. And when you've got Independence Blue Cross, you're right where you need to be. Call 1-844-200-2583 today to get an Independence Blue Cross plan.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Mac here on Birds 365. Time to add another voice to the show. And it's a good one at that. He comes on basically when we ask him to, which is often because we need his insight because we know how good it is. He's covered the Birds for years. He's doing it these days for Philly Mag. And yes, he's the Philadelphia Hall of Fame voter, which the Hall of Fame will announce their new entries during the week coming up on Thursday night. Paul Domowitch, good enough to hop aboard with us here on Birds 365. Domo, I want to start with this. I asked John this question. I'm going to ask you as well. Sunday, no Eagles, but a big game to be played between the Bengals and the Rams. Do you have to explain to your wife why you need to be in football mode? Did she join you on the couch? Did she just go, another Sunday without my husband? How does it play in the Domowitch household?
Well, Dama's usually at the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Usually I'm not there. So, and with snow in the forecast, she's very happy to have me home. So, she'll be watching it. She's a big fan. She's big, especially if a team has any Oklahoma players on it, and Joe Mixon plays for Cincinnati, and there's a few others. So.
Yeah, you always got a few Oklahoma players, so there's always some kind of rooting interest. But what's it like? I feel a little left out when I'm not at the Super Bowl. You're obviously there every year, typically. Now you're doing things via Zoom with the Hall of Fame discussions. How is that different for you?
Well, I had some practice last year with the Super Bowl being totally Zoom too, except for there were a few exceptions, some guys that were there in person, but I actually enjoyed it. At the time when I had no plans to retire, I thought, this could extend my career another 10 years. I'm getting used to Zoom though, as you guys are.
Sometimes it's nice. Yeah, you wake up.
The Hall of Fame. The meetings for the Hall of Fame have been very productive on Zoom the last 2 years. I've got no complaints with it. I'd rather be there. But this is kind of still an odd year for the Super Bowl. I don't think the teams are even getting in until Thursday.
Today, I think.
So
I
it's
thought it was
not
today.
really- Oh, is it? Okay. they
I
must have
think
moved
it's
it up.
today. Yeah. Oh,
Cincinnati
we had
did
Zoom.
that.
We had Zoom, press conferences yesterday with the Bengals
Yeah.
and the Rams. We're going to have them all week, I think, until.
Yeah.
So it's still Zoom centric. Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. I got one more question about Mrs. Domowitch. How big a Jalen Hurts fan is she? Does she
Huge.
consider him an Oklahoma guy because he spent more time in Alabama, but he finished up in Oklahoma? Is he a Sooner through and through in the wife's eyes?
Oh yeah, she doesn't consider him an Alabama guy.
Okay.
She better not listen to Jalen, Damo, because Jalen brings up Alabama more than Oklahoma.
Yeah, and she doesn't like anyone that speaks ill of Jalen. So watch it.
Well, I'm in trouble.
She's okay here because both McMullen and I are fair at the very minimum, if not considerable Hurts fans on this show. All right, you mentioned the Hall of Fame and the meetings that you guys had. You don't know who's going to be announced. Usually you got a feel for it when you did it previously live and in person in a big room going back and forth. I know we asked about it last year, how different it was to do it virtually as compared to being there in person. Give us your rundown on how you thought it played. I've talked to a couple other guys who were on that same Zoom quest that you were, and they've spoken very highly of the new guy who's running the Hall of Fame. Said they thought that he did a good job and seemed to be more in tune with what you guys wanted to do with the overall process. How do you think this year's meeting went?
Yeah, I agree with that, with their sentiments. I mean, he listened to us, listened to our, any problems we had last year. The process was a little different the first year on Zoom, and it wasn't the Saturday before the Super Bowl. It was about 2 or 3 or 4 weeks before. And they were afraid of us letting something slip. They didn't trust us. So, we had the reduction vote from 15 to 10, then 10 to 5, but they didn't tell us who the final 5 were for us to vote yes or no on. Instead, they gave us the final 10 and made us vote yes or no on all 10, even though 5 were basically moot, had already been eliminated, because that was last year, because there was very little trust with the previous regime. But the new guy, Jim Palmer, former newspaper publisher for a paper in Ohio, listened to us, wants to hear our suggestions for how to make the Hall of Fame better. And he did it differently this year. He trusted us. He, in the middle of the meeting, I guess I can divulge this. I mean, we were going to do it the same way. And a lot of guys said, this is just nonsense. Have some respect for us. We're not going to let it leak. And he thought about it for a while and said, okay, we're going to go that way. So, we knew who the final 5 were when we voted yes, no on those 5. And I thought, for him to do that to us, for us, showed me a lot. There's been no leaks. There won't be any leaks this week. I give him a big thumbs up for that.
All right, so Dom, I was going to ask for you to leak, but you're not going to go. We did talk to Ira Kaufman. So he was mentioning, and Ira's can take over a room, as you know. And he said the one thing, you lose a little bit of the passion. And I know you've been passionate about certain players over Zoom. Yeah. You think that affects any of the trying to win people over, trying to lobby people?
Probably to a certain degree, because you're not standing in front of them. You're on a screen. So yeah, I would agree with Ira on that. Although Ira can be passionate, from
lunch
5,000 miles away on a radio. So, but yeah, that's probably the downside to it.
All right, Damo, here's a combo question for you. In arguments that you've heard from others about the Hall of Fame, in arguments that you've made about Philadelphia guys for the Hall of Fame, have you referenced number of Pro Bowl appearances? And if you have, would you ever do that again after watching the slop that was on TV this weekend touch football at its finest, does it now mean anything to actually make a Pro Bowl team?
Yeah, I mean, some people have mentioned the number occasionally in presentations. I've never done it. I don't put any credence in it because of what you said. B, because when you count the people that actually were selected for the Pro Bowl, and then the fact that most of them now either are playing in the Super Bowl or bowed out because of injuries, you've got third, fourth alternates that are considered Pro Bowlers now. So, you're going to put that on their record as a Pro Bowl appearance? No. With regard to the Hall of Fame, besides what you see with your own eyes, I think Team of the Decade selections seem to count a lot. All pro selections, because it's voted on by what I consider a pretty respectable group of writers and broadcasters and ex-players, just like the Hall of Fame. So, but no, Pro Bowls are just, it's just, you can't put much credence in them, like you said, Jody.
Yet, Damo, I will say it still means something to the players. Jody's right. The game is a waste of time, but I think the honor still means something to the players. If you sort of couch the context you mentioned about alternates, versus guys who are actually voted into the Pro Bowl, and the fact that it's tied to contract incentives, I do think it's still meaningful for the players. And you can get a baseline when you hear, whoever you want, guys like that, Reggie or constant Pro Bowlers back in the day, the consistent Aaron Donald today. Can you use that context and it has some value? Forget about the game, but I think the honor is still means something. If you can realize the context of, okay, third alternate's not as impressive as Aaron Donald.
Yeah, no, it certainly means it's an honor to the players. I mean, they don't. My problem with it is John, just like you, when we used to go into the locker room. A lot of these guys vote. Yeah, it takes about 2 seconds. They're voting not for they don't give a lot of thought. Some of them do. I shouldn't say that, but so for the players, it's an honor. A lot of them don't want to go to the game, especially when it was in Hawaii because of the long trip. Dan Marino was famous for coming up with injury excuses. I remember one year being out in Hawaii for the NFL. The Pro Bowl was after the season, and I forget where I was, but Dan Marino did not play because of injury. And I turn on my TV, and he's in a celebrity golf tournament. They have a lot of that, but for the players, yes, it's still an honor. It's just that you can't take it seriously when you're considering them for the Hall of Fame. It's a very misleading number.
Actually, after watching a couple of minutes of the Pro Bowl this week, I think you've got a better chance to get injured playing golf than you do playing in the Pro Bowl or that fiasco that they put on TV on Sunday. All right, Damo, I want to switch it up a little bit here. Eagles lost to fairly significant front office contributors this past week or 10 days with Ian Cunningham going elsewhere and then Brandon Brown joining the Giants. The Eagles have been good at hiring and bringing in guys. I was just talking with Johnny Mack about nobody plucking any Eagles coaches, but to get two guys plucked from the front office is both work that you have to do to replace them, but also a bit of an honor that you are developing good and smart executives around the league. So now the Eagles have to do that. They have to replace two guys they lost. I don't think I brought this up the last time you were on the show. A guy I'm a fan of the Eagles reaching out to and offering a job is the former general manager of the Oakland Raiders. Mike Mayock's a Philly guy. He was one of the more respected scouting voices that I had faith in over the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, did it a long time for the NFL Network. Had him on as a guest many a time to talk about drafts and the like. The Eagles have one of the most important drafts they're going to have had over the last 10 years, maybe going forward for the next 10 years. Think Mike Mayock would be a fit in the Eagle front office under Howie Roseman?
I'd love to see it because I like John. I like Mike. I respect him and think he would be a good addition. As far as a fit, I think Howie would feel threatened only because Mike is very popular. And I'm not sure but Howie's brought in some former big hitters before as advisors. So I may be wrong on that, but it would be. I mean, I think Mike would like it. He's from this area. I don't know what his plans are. I talked to him after. I texted with him after he was fired, and he was on a beach somewhere at the time. So I don't know whether he was in a hurry to get back into the league, whether he's going to go into back into broadcasting. It would be a good fit, but how I think he would help the organization. It's amazing. You mentioned the two guys they've lost. I mean, for all the criticism Howie and the organization has gotten for their drafts and for everything else, they get plucked. Their front office gets more than any front office I can think of. Going back to Joe Douglas and guys like that, it's amazing.
Well, one of the reasons, not obviously, the Eagles are very well respected around the league in the front office, as you know, Damo. But I was looking just because I happened to stumble across Peter King's column, and before the Eagles lost Ian and Brandon, their scouting department was 21 deep. And that doesn't include Howie and Catherine Rage, who are at the top. And the Bengals and Duke Tobin, who are in the Super Bowl, 6. Mike Brown, which tells you the difference between the ownership and Jeffrey Lurie. Jeffrey Lurie really does, because there is no salary cap in the front office. Yeah. And you could bring in talent. And they brought in Andrew Berry in the past, who got obviously a quick GM job. Dave Caldwell's there now, the former GM in Jacksonville. They had John Dorsey doing some work in between jobs for him a couple years ago. So why not Mike Mayock? But I think it would be more in the consultant way versus, they like Andy Weidel. He's not going anywhere. So I don't know if there's a fit, but if Mike Mayock wants to write personnel reports, the Eagles would love to take a look at him, I think. Yeah. That's the way they kind of work.
From that's, yeah. I don't know their personal relationship. Mike seems to have gotten along with everybody in the league, so I don't imagine that would be a problem. I mean, I could see it happening, and it would, like I said, it would be a smart move by Howie, because, like you said, he has not been. I'll give him credit. I mean, I've criticized Howie when he's made some poor decisions, but he has, for a guy who has been perceived as somebody who doesn't like challenges around him for his job, he has brought, like you just said, Dorsey, et cetera, brought in people from around the league with plenty of experience that could be viewed as threats to him, that, where he's wanted to have their input. So from that standpoint, I could see him bringing in Mike.
All right, Damo, I'm going to make you either Mike Mayock or Ian Cunningham, whoever you want to be, or if you need the title, I'll make you Howie Roseman. Whatever you feel comfortable with to answer this question. The Eagles have 3 starting defensive backfield guys from this past season who are free agents this year. Steven Nelson and both safeties for the Eagles either have to be re-signed or let go. They certainly have to be replaced if they're not going to be here. Assuming the same contract for all 3, that money is not an object here. You got to go 2 years and market value is 6, 7, 8 million, whatever it is. But all 3 guys are commanding the same thing. They have offers from other teams at that 2-year, pick a number, $15 million number. And they all go to the Eagles. Hey, if you match, we'll stay, because we prefer to stay here in Philadelphia. Prioritize those 3 for me. If it's the same deal for all of them, which one are you offering the deal to first, because you think it's important to keep that player above the other 2?
Well, let me start out by saying I'd be looking to get rid of all 3 of them. Various reasons. Steven Nelson, I know he's gotten a lot of compliments this year. I haven't been particularly impressed by his play. I know a lot goes in and is involved with scheme, but I mean, I think they can do better there. Rodney McLeod is one of the nicest guys I've ever covered. But I think I mentioned this maybe the last time I was on. this team has sometimes been guilty of the Chase Utley disease. I mean, we're talking about a 32-year-old guy with 2 major knee injuries. It's just time. It's just time to get younger there. You want to. I don't care what you want to bring Rodney McLeod into the front office. You want to, do with him what you did with Connor Barwin and Brent Selleck. That's great. That would be a terrific thing. I just don't want him back there anymore. I think you need to start looking at, because you need to rebuild that whole defense. If there's one guy I would think about keeping, it would be Anthony Harrison. I'm not crazy about him either. I mean, safety's high on my list of offseason priorities. So I think they need a couple new ones. So that's the way I look at that. Anthony Harris, maybe. The other two, I'm sorry, but I'd be.
You ready to move on? All right, good. Thank you for answering the question. That's what I wanted to hear. Oh, by the way, I disagree with you. I like Steven Nelson, and I hope he is the one they do hope to retain. I know it'd be nice.
I got 3 first-round picks, though, Jody. You get a corner in the first round. You don't need Steve Nelson at $7-8 million.
All right. You need a corner prediction out of me? The 2 top corners in this upcoming draft will both be off the board before the Eagles pick. That's both Stingley, and I know everyone is talking up the Sauce kid from Cincinnati. He's the top 10 pick. And oh, by the way, if you think you're getting the safety from Notre Dame, he's going to be long gone before the Eagles ever pick in the first round. So I get it. They're going to look to upgrade in the secondary, which they should, but people are mocking them top flight talent that's going in the top 10 in the middle of the first round. And I'm telling you, it's not happening.
I'm still an advocate of, and I think John and I used to discuss this early on in his career, of moving Avonte back to safety. I think he can be a very productive safety, but he's also right now he's one of the better,
really good slot.
Slot corners. Yeah.
So you probably don't want to weaken a position unless you have somebody to plug in there.
Yeah. But obviously they're gonna add bodies in the secondary. I do want to shift to the coaching carousel with you, Damo, because you wrote something about that at the 33rd team, and I want to start in Jacksonville. Doug Peterson getting the job, and then we'll get into the minority hiring practices of this league. But certainly seemed like Doug was out, and then all of a sudden here he comes, and he's the head coach in Jacksonville. And, by the way, all of a sudden he knows some people in the league. He's able to get Mike McCoy on his staff, who's a big Nick Sirianni guy as well. Looks like a nice spot for Doug if Jacksonville can get things right in the front office. But, boy, Trevor Lawrence, I mean, Doug's going to go from bad to 8-9 wins right away. So he's going to have a pretty good, I think, start. Can he build on that start? What do you think about Doug's fit in Jacksonville?
I think it's a good place for him for a lot of reasons. Not only the fact that he's got one of the best young quarterbacks in the league to work with, but it's basically your out of the way outpost in this league. I think the Philadelphia spotlight was glared a little too brightly for him. So did the owner looking over his shoulder. He's going to get neither of those down there. Jacksonville, nobody pays attention to, so he's fine there. He's not going to have much of a media contingent to harass him. I think Khan, the owner, has learned his lessons for the most. I mean, Khan's got a lot of faults. One of them isn't that he's going to be, having this guy come in for Tuesday meetings, like Lurie did here with Peterson. The problem there is, like you just said, the front office. They kept Trent Baalke. It's why basically Doug Peterson's the head coach right now rather than Byron Leftwich, who basically said, I'll take the job, but Baalke's got to go. Whereas, by the time they got back to Doug, Doug was in a situation where it's either, I keep my mouth shut as far as my opinion of Baalke and I get the job, or I voice the same opinion as Byron did and I don't get the job either. So it was a smart play by him. But, Baalke, I've never been a big fan of his.
I've yet to meet the fan of his. I've yet to meet the fan of his, Trent Baalke. Evidently, it's Shad Khan.
And you have more experience with the guy that, Rick Spielman may end up there. I don't know if he, I've never, for Rick Spielman to me is the guy, it will always be the guy that gave a second-round pick for AJ Feely. Well, I don't
He'll
know.
Always be real quick, Damo. He'll always be the guy who drafted Christian Ponder to me with the 11th.
And there's another one. Yeah. Now, fortunately, they've got the quarterback situation straightened out.
Right. He can't screw up quarterback down in Jacksonville, so that's good. Yeah. I just want to add this.
If they get Doug Talon, I think he'll succeed there.
I think John just said 8 or 9 wins for Doug this year. Oh, I'll take the under 9. I don't think
I wouldn't be so quick on that because Trevor's going to take off.
I'll take the under 9 because
I got a lot of confidence in Trevor Lawrence.
As do I, but they got a lot of John. They're the worst record in the league.
Oh, I know.
If he goes to 6, he's going to double their wins. That's a good season. That's considered a success if you double your team's wins. So I don't think he's getting a 9, but you're right. He's in a good position because there's only one direction to go, and that's up for him.
Keep in mind the league. Keep in mind this league. Every year, half the teams that make the playoffs were not in the playoffs last year.
Well, look at Cincinnati: 2 wins, 4 wins, Super Bowl.
Bang. And the Eagles, 4 wins to 9 wins. I don't think that number's unreasonable. I might put it a little lower, but I mean, Trevor Lawrence was not as bad as we saw last year. I think Doug's going to do a good job with him.
Oh, well, we can all agree on that. They're going to get better. The question is how much better. All right, Damo, your thoughts on the overall coaching carousel in the National Football League? It was already spinning by the time that Coach Floyd decided to knock it off its moorings and get the NFL in a different type mode because of his lawsuit against the NFL. I think Lovie Smith could be happy for that because he kind of jumped into the fray and got a job down in Houston. I saw Flores say to his lawyer yesterday, well, he didn't get the job in Houston because he filed the lawsuit. My response to that would be, duh. Yeah, did he really believe that after he filed the lawsuit, someone's going to jump up and hire him? It's more power to you, my friend, and I hope you stick it out, and I hope you get change in the National Football League throughout. But did he think he was going to file the lawsuit and then get hired as a head coach this offseason?
I don't quite understand his timing on filing the lawsuit, Jody. I thought if you're going to file a lawsuit like that, you wait until everybody's made their hires and then you know what has happened. And, he did this with with at least 2 jobs still left open, which both were those, 2 of the last 3 jobs were filled by black candidates. It's a lawsuit he's not going to win, and I don't think he expected to. The idea here, I think, was to basically shout out the injustice and get that out there, although that was already out there. I mean, the problem here is, we can talk about this. Roger Goodell can talk about it. He can. The people you've got to change their minds there's only 32 of them.
Thank you, Damo.
Troy Vincent,
I wrote about that in Philly Voice. Everybody's yelling about Roger Goodell. He can't tell people who to hire. He doesn't have that power. How do you solve a problem when nobody can identify the problem? And the problem is the 32 owners.
Yeah, I mean, Troy Vincent has, over the last several weeks, has worked the phones, tried to force feed names to these guys and get them to bring people in for interviews at the behest of Roger and the rest of the league. They have made significant advances from the bottom rung. They filled in. They're getting teams to hire quality control coaches that are minorities. That they're getting people to bring in low-level scouts now and hire them that are minorities, with the hope that they rise through organizations. And in 5, 6, 7, 8 years, these are guys that the owners will feel comfortable with and will hire. But right now, we're at a point where there's 32 owners. They're the only people that matter as far as what happens with black hiring in the league at the head coaching level. And they're not ready to pull the trigger.
I do want to follow up on the answer you just gave. A lawsuit he can't win. So are you suggesting that this will go all the way into a courtroom? Because if the NFL can't lose it, why would they settle it? They'd fight the fight and go ahead and win it. I kind of disagree with you there, buddy. I think at the worst Flores is going to get is a significant settlement in this lawsuit. And if I'm getting a check, I would consider that a win if I were him. You really think they're going to go through with this and the NFL is going to win?
No, I mean, I don't think it'll ever get to trial. I mean, they may pay him off. I don't know. That doesn't really solve the situation for Brian. I just think that a lot of I've read some of the lawsuit, and just a lot of it doesn't. To prove the Giants situation, for instance, you've got to basically get Bill Belichick to tell you
I want to see that Belichick on the stand. Oh, I would pay for that. Surely watch that before watching the stinking Pro Bowl. Watch Bill Belichick be cross-examined. Please tell me that's going to happen.
All he's going to say is, this is, I heard that. Nobody told me that for sure. So there's no way to
easy. It's easy to fend that off.
Yeah.
And, one thing I said, Dama, when I saw it, I said, well, the tampering and the tanking allegations are damaging to Stephen Ross, but what does that have to do with racial discrimination? I thought there were too many lobbing too many bombs instead of being very focused in on the racial discrimination. Now,
including the Denver one, John. I mean, why rip Denver for not hiring you when Vance Joseph was the coach before Vic Fangio? I mean, you're picking the wrong battles. And like you said, he kind of his lawyers kind of scattershot all over the place on this. And I don't think any of it's provable. Does that mean that the league's not guilty of everything he's suggesting? Of course not. But it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to prove it.
Yeah. And I want to direct everybody to Damo's piece at the 33rd team, and that's the NFL minority hiring. Did they really want to get this right? So everybody should check that out at the 33rdteam.com. We're not going to have you before the Super Bowl, so I want to get you on record. Joe Cool against the more talented team, Sean McVay against the Sean McVay acolyte. Talk about coaching. Everybody wants Sean McVay. Everybody wants Sean McVay. Rams versus Bengals. Who you got?
I got the Rams, guys, only because, I think this game's going to come down to who could protect their quarterback the best. Neither one of these lines have done a terrific job of it this season, but, the Bengals have not. There has not been a team make the conference championship in the last 10 years that allowed more than 45 sacks in a season. Burrow was sacked 55 times this year. They beat Tennessee in the division round.
9 sacks.
9 times. I don't know how that happens, but I don't think they can get away with that on Sunday. If they can't protect Joe, I think they lose, and I think they're going to have some major problems with Aaron Donald and company. So I think it'll be a 7-point or less game, but I'd give the advantage to the Rams right now.
Damo, tell your wife that Jody McDonald said it's going to come down to who runs the ball the best. In the passing league that the NFL is in 2022, it's going to come down to who runs it back. So an Oklahoma guy has a chance to hand his team a Super Bowl. Tell her to be in front of that TV watching Joe Mixon run wild.
Yeah, I gotta say because she'll call me out on this. She's cooled on Joe Mixon because she forgave him for what he did in college, but the anti-vax stance kind of that ended it.
I didn't even know he's an anti-vax guy.
Yeah.
See, I can't keep everything.
He may have changed his mind and come, but yeah, but you're right. Certainly they're going to run the ball better than the Rams. I think are averaging something like 2.5 yards per carry during the postseason.
The Rams have almost too many backs now. They're getting Anderson back. I thought they've underused Sony Michel here in the playoffs. They keep winning, so I can second guess all I want. They can laugh at me. And yeah, Cam Akers,
Yeah.
It just continues
That's
to put
the
the
guy
ball
they
on the
like.
ground.
No matter how many times
Talk
he
about
puts it on
dodging
the
a bullet. You
ground.
mentioned Burrow didn't. Burrow got sacked 9 times. How about the Rams fumbling it 4 times and beating Tampa Bay? Both of these teams have done things in the postseason would make you think they'd be home. Yet both of them are still standing for Sunday.
I'd like to know
Because
the
of
last
Sean
time
McVay.
game with 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
Don't know about Shawnee McVay. John says that with tongue firmly implanted in cheek. Damo, good stuff. Enjoy watching the Super Bowl with the missus this weekend. Appreciate you coming on board with us. You know we're going to tap into you plenty during this off season.
Thanks for having me. Take care. Have a good week.
Thanks,
Paul
Tom.
Domowitch, 33rdteam.com and Philly Magazine, picking the Rams. Well, McMullen, we got another hour to go. So you haven't officially gotten on the record yet. I haven't officially gotten on the record yet. We'll get Bob Grotz officially on the record to make a pick on the Super Bowl. We've still got an hour to go here on Birds 365.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go for the view that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go to bed whenever you want. Or don't. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. 1 free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
You know you like being right. That's why you should enroll in an Independence Blue Cross plan. It's the health plan chosen by more people than any other, with more doctors and hospitals, more benefits that really rock, more of the coverage you want for the right price, including free doctor visits 24/7. It's a choice you can feel good about, because when you're right, you're right. And when you've got Independence Blue Cross, you're right where you need to be. Call 1-844-200-2583 today to get an Independence Blue Cross plan.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
John McMullen and Jody McDonald here on Birds 360. I've got another hour to go today. And oh, by the way, in case you haven't heard, this is going to be it for us for the week. We're going to take a couple of days off. The entire JAKIB Media YouTube channel is going to take a couple of days off leading up to the Super Bowl and a couple of days after the Super Bowl. So we appreciate you tuning in today. While you're here, do the right thing. Show some love for your boys. Hit that like button. We're going to need to pump up our algorithm before we go away for a week. Hopefully not out of sight, out of mind, because you know all the shows right here on YouTube. Any ones you want to go back to, we've had some really good guests on over the last, what are we talking about, 10 months, Johnny Mac, we've been doing this? We're early February. We started in April. So, yeah, that's 10 months. We've
coming
been
up on the 1 year anniversary. What show are we on, Jody? Do you still have it?
212 shows we've logged so far.
Yeah, it's been quite the whirlwind. I think we've done a good job overall, you and I.
There you go. Pat yourself on the back. No, thank you
No.
very much, because you're patting me on the back. And I
Yes.
want to pat you on the back because people tune in to you each and every single day. All right, two things I want to do before we get Bob Grotz up here. Delco Times Eagle columnist who we always have fun with whenever he comes on. One, I'm going to lead you into by asking you an NFL trivia question. Are you a trivia guy? You and I have done these 212 shows. I've never determined in my own mind whether you're a trivia guy or not.
What do you mean by trivia guy? I
Do
mean,
you like
everything
it?
runs.
Do you feel you're good at it?
Nah, I don't think I'm good at it because everything runs together to me. So
Yeah,
if some people say, "What Super Bowl?" I'm not good at that. I'm not good at numbers and like I'm not going to say Super Bowl 8 versus Super Bowl 23. You know,
Right.
That I'm not good at because everything kind of runs together to me.
So a good hedge by you on the question. So we'll see if you get the answer to this trivia question, which was asked to me last night. I sure as hell didn't get it right. But then I was surprised because I asked it to somebody else and they did get it right. How many active quarterbacks in the NFL right now have 2 Super Bowl rings?
Active quarterbacks have 2 Super Bowl rings. Oof. It's got to be a backup somewhere, doesn't it? What are we talking about? Mahomes has 1. Aaron has 1. You got Tom's retired.
Right.
Nick's got, how many does Nick have? Nick has, did he get another one as a backup? No, he's only got 1. Hey, Carson's got 1, by the way, people.
Right. Ben went out the door with a couple.
Ben went out the door with a couple. Yeah. No, I don't know. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And I didn't get it either, John, because I'm going through the
Is it a
teams and
backup?
I'm only looking at the starters. You are correct. Your line of logic is on point. Think New England.
Who was the Brian Hoyer? Who is their backup now? Kevin O'Connell's
he's playing elsewhere.
Boy, that tells you what the New England. I mean, you don't even think about that.
He was playing elsewhere till last week.
Boy, who am I missing? Matt Castle's long gone.
He was the starting quarterback in the NFC Championship game.
Case Keenum wasn't the backup.
No, last week he was the starting quarterback in the NFC Championship game.
Oh, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy G's got 2 Super Bowl rings.
Oh, that's terrible.
That is.
See, so I'm not good at it. Yeah.
No, believe me. At least you figured out the backup part of it.
Yeah.
I never even went there. I'm only thinking about the starters, and I'm going, there aren't any. There's no Brady's out, Ben's out. Nobody's got 2 rings.
Yeah.
Oh yes, Jimmy Garoppolo does. I completely forgotten as well that he was the backup. He's actually gotten a championship ring in San Francisco, but he has 2 Super Bowl rings sitting there.
Yeah, I always have that, more so with the NBA, and people would talk about guys with a bunch of rings, and because they're on a team with LeBron James or Michael Jordan.
LeBron has gotten guys more rings than anybody on the planet.
Yeah. Well, Michael Jordan, even Robert Horry, like when people would say, who's a very good player and certainly a big in key moments, and he's got a ton of rings, and people would argue he's a Hall of Fame. I'm like, no, he's not. He's a great role player. Tremendous role player. Just because you have a lot of rings on the backs of superstars doesn't make you
the guy who's gotten that argument for some people over the last couple of years is Iggy.
Yeah, Andre. Same thing. Great player. I used to laud him when he was here. I thought people were way too hard on him.
Agreed.
Really, really good player. Not a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah,
he's got a lot of rings since he left here. Yeah,
I don't think he's all. He got that 1 MVP in the finals.
Yeah,
which is a key element to the whole argument. If he's a Hall of Famer, yeah, you and I are agreeing.
Very good player. Very underrated here because he was the best player here, and he got paid like a star. It's not his fault. Very good player.
The reason why I went down the Garoppolo trivia question route for you was, did you see what Tom Brady said yesterday?
Yeah, he said he might come back. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, I love that Tom. I don't think Tom's coming back because, if it's week 15, week 16, you lose your quarterback. Say New England is Mac Jones is going great guns and, he gets injured late in the season like Carson Wentz did in 2017, which I hope doesn't happen. And the Patriots, what a storybook ending that would be, huh? If he went back to the Patriots and won another one. But I don't think he'd do it. I don't think he'd consider it, knowing how competitive he is. He would consider that, and I hate to throw this word out there, cheating. Cheating with Tom Brady and the Patriots. Cheating in the fact that if you don't go through the whole thing, you don't really earn it. That's how I think he would look upon it.
Well, I would disagree with that, but it lends itself to a good question. First things first, why he said this on his podcast yesterday. Don't know this. Jody McDonald speculation. Someone from the podcast, doubt Jim Gray, maybe a producer thereof, an investor on the podcast, whatever, said, you realize, Tom, you screwed us last week. You came on the podcast, said, I'm still going through the process, and I haven't made any decisions. Less than 24 hours later, he steps up and says, all right, I'm done. So he made his own podcast irrelevant by how he handled his business last week. So I'm thinking someone might have said to him, yo, Tom, you owe us. You really did kind of stick it in our eye last week by not announcing your retirement here on the podcast, but doing so less than 24 hours later. Why the hell would anybody listen to the podcast when you just put out the pap that you do? You got to throw us a bone. Give us something. Give us something we can hang our hat on. Oh, you're not slamming the door on retirement. You're going to keep your mind open to it. I think that could have been very designated the way that it fell out. But here's a question about the line of logic that you laid out there about, what happens if Mac Jones gets hurt in week 13? And Tom's still in great physical shape. And yeah, he kind of understands you got a relationship with Coach Belichick. New offense coordinator there in New England, because theirs did beat it out to Vegas to become their head coach. But we know how smart Brady is. He could probably pick up their offensive system in 2 hours if he worked hard enough at it. Can he even do that? He is under contract this year to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right?
Yeah, good point. Yeah. No, he couldn't. They would have to, work something out as far as, and by that time, yeah, you bring up a good point. I was just thinking about it. If he did come back, it would almost have to be with Tampa Bay because he is under contract. So that is another hurdle as well.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of it more as a storybook type thing. But
right.
yeah, if he was going to come back, he'd almost have to come back with Tampa Bay, especially late in the season because the trade deadline would be long gone. Trade deadline's around Halloween. So something before to go to another team would have to happen before, and he probably wouldn't be considering it that early in the season. But who knows? Maybe Giselle wants him out of the house.
Right, and it has to do with intent and also paperwork, because I know I'm going to draw a comparison between Major League Baseball in the 70s and the NFL in 2022. I don't know if this comparison works or holds any water whatsoever. But when my father was general manager, he traded for Mickey Lolich, a name that you and I will recognize. A whole bunch of our fans probably won't. Who the hell's Mickey Lolich? He was a very talented pitcher for the Tigers in the 60s into the 70s, a little overweight. My father traded Rusty Staub for him, who was a pretty damn good player in his own right. And Lolich came in, had one mediocre year for the Mets, not as bad as his record looked, but it wasn't anything special. And then he retired. And my father did what he had to do. He just put in the paperwork to cover their butt so that he doesn't unretire. But he only did it for 1 year. Sometimes they do it for major years. Lolich sat out a year and then said, you know what, I'm coming back. And he signed with the San Diego Padres, whatever. My father got nothing for him. He got 1 year out of him. Rusty stuck around in the bigs for another 10 years thereafter. It's for several different teams, including coming back and rejoining the Mets after my father had already left. Anyway, so the Tampa needs to handle their paperwork correctly with Tom Brady, but I think he did that for podcast purposes, just to give his podcast something a little juicy.
Yeah, maybe Tom's as media savvy as he is football savvy.
Oh, yeah, I would not doubt that one iota. All right, J-Mac, question I want to ask you before we get Bob Grotz up. Maybe we'll put it to him as well. We are starting to see mock drafts. I mentioned earlier, I'm seeing some. Shockingly, it's Philadelphia guys who are putting out mock drafts who have really talented players, in my mind, falling down to 15, 16.
Funny
19.
how that works. Yeah.
Yeah, it's shocking. In other mock drafts by national individuals, I'm seeing some of the top secondary guys go in the top 10, who others have falling down to the Eagles in the middle of the first round. So it is the season to be mocking, is what I'm saying here. And it'll continue to play itself out through the combine and then to the individual workouts. And then, of course, the draft itself. Couple positions I want to ask you about, not first round action, but later in the draft type action that I don't know the Eagles are going to select anyone at these two positions, or maybe they will. That's why I'm asking you. The first position is tight end. I watched the Senior Bowl this week. A couple of the tight ends actually look pretty good to me. Look like players. They're not going to be guys taken in the first round. Tight ends very infrequently. There is no Pitts in this year's draft. There's nobody who's going to be taken in the first half of the first round. No chance, no shot. But there looked like there were some nice tight ends in Mobile this past weekend. The Eagles certainly have Dallas Goedert. And then they've got Jack Stoll and Tyree Jackson. Is tight end a position? Eagles have 10 picks in this upcoming draft. A lot of selections. Later round, certainly day 3 at the earliest. Are the Eagles going to take a tight end in this year's draft?
Yeah, I could see it. Day 3 more. I don't think you would see it early in the draft because obviously Dallas Goedert is where he is in his career. And, he's already turning out to be a star player at that particular position. They do like what Jack Stoll offered, and they only expect him to get a little bit better. And remember, his role would be more on the blocking side anyway, and he's good at that. And then Tyree Jackson. The one thing that concerns you is Tyree tore his ACL in week 18, so 9-month injury. You get hurt. Week 18 was early January. So do the math. That's September. He doesn't have an off season. He might be able to get back for the start of the regular season. But I wouldn't be surprised if they took a tight end on day 3 if they like him. And they'll certainly bring in an undrafted kid or two like they did last year with Jack Stoll. So you do have to have a bit of a safety net because of Tyree's injury, but he's still young, and these days ACLs aren't as devastating as they once were. May take a little time. He's probably not going to be himself, but hopefully he's young enough to get back to where he was before, and they thought he was a really exciting developmental prospect. So by no means did I think they're closing the book on Tyree Jackson in that transition, but you got to be realistic as well. So, yeah, they're going to bring in a body or two, and I think it could start on day 3 of the draft.
All right, let me ask you about one other tight end player, then I'll give you the other position I want to know about. Noah, and I'm not going to take a shot on the last name. I know you know how to pronounce it. The tight end that they had. He got plucked from them. They brought him back this year. What's his last name?
Tagai.
Tagai. Okay.
Yeah. He's in the mix as well. They signed him to a futures deal. Probably should have mentioned him as well. I think he's clearly behind Jack and Tyree at this point, but he's in that mix. He'll be one of the guys battling for sort of that third tight end slot with whomever they bring in from a body type. But I don't think a lot was made. That was weird to me. the Eagles certainly wanted to keep Noah when he was an undrafted player, and they wanted to get him on the practice squad. And Indianapolis picked him up on waivers, and people made a big deal out of it. And the Eagles wanted to keep him, no question. They wanted to get him back on the practice squad, but that's what happens in this league. Occasionally, you lose a player. But if you wanted him that bad, just like they did last year with Tyree Jackson, who was injured, and they still kept him because remember, he was dealing with the fracture in his back, and they still didn't want to leave him the potential for someone to claim him on waivers. Same thing with Jordan Mailata when he was a young player. Jordan Mailata had no right being on the Eagles 53-man roster when he was a rookie. Certainly wasn't the 53rd best player in training camp, but they didn't want to risk losing him. So if you put somebody on waivers, you risk losing them, and you don't like them that much. I remember we had a discussion with Brett Toth, and the Eagles were upset. And I said, that's probably the wrong word. You called me out on it, so I'll give you credit. They thought they wanted to have him, and that's the same thing as Noah. But if you really wanted a guy that bad, you wouldn't put him on waivers. So,
right.
I don't think he's, don't put an asterisk next to his name. I don't think you look at Noah Tagai and say he's going to be a big part of this team in the future, but he'll get an opportunity to go to training camp and win a job.
All right. The other position I want to get in, and we got Bob Grotz joining us in less than 5 here. Assuming Jalen Hurts is the starting quarterback, assuming Gardner Minshew is still here as the backup quarterback, how much do the Eagles actually like Reed Stinnett? Are they going to use a day 3 pick on a quarterback, or are they going to go the undrafted route? Damn, now I'm forgetting. Who was the quarterback they brought in undrafted this past year, who many people thought was going to get drafted? He wasn't. Former Georgia guy.
Yeah. Man. Yeah.
What the heck? Big
Jamie
guy,
Newman.
good size.
Jamie Newman. Yeah.
Newman, right.
Yeah.
Who was undrafted. And if you go undrafted, I think the Eagles are definitely going to bring in another quarterback body, even if Hurts, Minshew, and Stinnett are still here. But will they use a draft pick somewhere between rounds 4 and 7 on a quarterback this year?
Yeah, I think you could see a draft pick. The Eagles like taking a quarterback in the draft every couple of years. Sometimes
they did last year.
Yeah, exactly. So now they're on, and it did. You're right about Jamie Newman but that's a lot of where the group thing comes in, because if you lead up to the draft and everybody would say, well, Jamie Newman's, going to be a day 3 pick, certainly. And all of a sudden the Eagles get him as an undrafted free agent. Everybody knows who he was because he played at Wake Forest. He was going to go to Georgia, but I think he opted out because of COVID. So he's kind of a big name on the college level. And they're like, wow, Jamie Newman. I know Jamie Newman. He showed up to the first minicamp, and he didn't even get out of that. That was it. They saw him for like 2 days and said, all right, thanks, Jamie. Thanks for showing up. Here's your Eagles t-shirt. Here's the door. Yeah, he didn't. And that's why it took me a while to come up with him. Right. Evidently,
he was
I had
here
to look.
About 20 minutes.
Yeah, he was here about 20 minutes. And then he went up to the Hamilton Tiger Cats up in the CFL. So hopefully Jamie can get things going in the right direction. But yeah, I mean, he got waived in June. He didn't even show anything. So, yeah, I mean, I think the Eagles are going to draft a quarterback somewhere. And remember, this is all hedging on the fact that they don't acquire a quarterback or go in a different direction at quarterback 1. But even if, it is Hurts and Minshew, as we all expect, yeah, I think they'd like to improve and bring in a better developmental prospect as quarterback 3 than Reed Stinnett.
we've got a bunch of weeks to get through before we find out if the Eagles do just that. The draft is something we're looking at down the road. Much closer is the Super Bowl on Sunday. That's just one of many topics we're going to discuss with our next guests, Mr. Positivity himself. Bob Grotz joins us next here on Birds 365.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go for the view that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go to bed whenever you want. Or don't. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
You know you like being right. That's why you should enroll in an Independence Blue Cross plan. It's the health plan chosen by more people than any other, with more doctors and hospitals, more benefits that really rock, more of the coverage you want for the right price, including free doctor visits 24/7. It's a choice you can feel good about, because when you're right, you're right. And when you've got Independence Blue Cross, you're right where you need to be. Call 1-844-200-2583 today to get an Independence Blue Cross plan.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
7 on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Welcome back, guys, here on Birds 365. Our final show before a little bit of a break. We're going to take a couple days leading off up to the Super Bowl, a couple days on the back end. So our last guest before Super Bowl Sunday is the inimitable one, Bob Grotz from the Delco Times, hopping aboard with us. You look like Darth Vader. Is it dark where you're at, Grotz?
Yeah, I'm trying to save on electricity, guys. I mean, my costs are just through the roof. Background like you guys.
You got you. Yeah, we got to get you an Ocean Casino.
Hey, and thanks for saving me for last. Yeah, I'll wrap it all up.
That's why we're finishing strong, Bob Grotz.
That's what I do.
You're the Super Bowl MVP of guests. That's why you're headlining.
Don't you wish that you were there, John?
I do wish I was there a little bit. Yeah. I feel I feel left out, Bob.
Yeah, I love Super Bowls, but with the access that they have now, I don't miss it a little bit. No, I mean remember the old media days? Oh my Lord. Those were epic. And you don't have that. That's the reason not to go right there. So
plus Los Angeles. Wow. You know.
I like LA. Yeah.
Well, everybody likes
dog at halftime.
Well, you're gonna be locked down from the minute you got there. You get there. So
the minute Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre play their song, that place is gonna go nuts. That whole stadium, it's gonna shake.
Yeah,
that is true.
It shouldn't be shaken. They just built it like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, and actually, I shouldn't say that about LA either because of the earthquakes out there.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I retract that.
Yeah, retract that.
Retraction too.
Start your day over.
All right.
That's what you get for $6 billion.
Hey, is Jalen Hurts still the Eagles' starting quarterback? Has anybody?
Last time we checked, Jay was.
Is that right? Yeah,
and we'll ask you about him too. Let's see if we can get either you or my partner to retract. John McMullen said earlier on the show today, don't be surprised if Dougie P wins 8 or 9 games with Jacksonville next year. So if I set the over-under at 8.5 wins for the Jaguars next year, you going over or under, Grotz?
I'd probably go under. Yeah, I know that's a surprise. But but they still got a lot of holes. I do like that synergy, though, him and the quarterback.
The quarterback, man. Look at Cincinnati.
Yeah,
2 wins, 4 wins. You get the quarterback, and you're in the Super Bowl.
Doug may not be that classic all-around head coach who manages everything, but he knows how to manage that position. So you would disagree with me if you rewound the 2020 season. Yeah, 2020 season, because I mean that's the first time he had a controversy at the end of the year there. But he's done a great job there. So I think that. I think Jacksonville will be much more competitive this year. But if you watch that press conference too, I mean, that looked like the most unhappiest hire I've ever seen. You know, not a guy on the dais had a smile on their face. I mean, it was.
Well, Shad Khan's taking kind of a beating down there, rightfully so. As much as you can in Jacksonville, coming off the Urban Meyer debacle. But if you go back to 2016. Bob, in the quarterback incubator, as they used to call it, with Doug Peterson, Frank Reich, John DiFilippo, and Carson Wentz. It looks like it's going to be Doug, Mike McCoy, Press Taylor, and Trevor Lawrence. I will say this. I'd rather have Trevor Lawrence than Carson Wentz even in 2016. Am I nuts?
Yeah, no, he's pretty good. And he's, in my opinion, a much better prospect. There were doubts about it. Remember when we all, I don't know if you guys did, but a lot of people laughed at the Browns for saying that Carson Wentz was not didn't warrant that pick. And
Paul DePodesta got a lot of what about that.
Yeah, he sure proved it as the years went on, but also that injury. Carson Wentz wasn't the same after that injury. But Trevor Lawrence, yeah, he can get it done. They still have a lot of holes to take care of, though. The offensive line needs to be improved.
They got the first overall pick, though.
Yeah,
don't they, Jody? Yeah, they got the first overall
pick. Yeah.
If I don't know if I guess I would have to take one of those pass rushers. I'd probably take the guy from Michigan. He's a little bit more versatile, a little more reliable. I'd probably go with him.
I knowing Doug, if he's got any power, he's going left tackle, number 1 overall. Who's that kid from Alabama?
Jody? Yeah, he's really good, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't go there. I'd take the pass rusher. That's the only way you can play defense. Watching the playoffs, the only way that you can play defense the way the rules are now is to rush the passer. So, and I'd go with and that guy's not a pure pass rusher, but he does a lot of different things. Yeah, I'd take a defensive lineman over an offensive tackle right now.
Let me ask you about another former Eagles head coach, and that would be the guy who's running the show out in Kansas City. With what happened in their loss in the AFC Championship game, I thought they were a lock to go to the Super Bowl. Can't believe what they did at the goal line to end the first half. Andy Reid's long arching career is what it is, and that would be just one short chapter, maybe a page in an entire book. How bad a page was it? Does his rep take a hit, a minor hit? No, come on, Jody, it's one friggin' game. Or does that kind of bring Andy back a peg on all-time achievements, not getting back to the Super Bowl this year with the team he had?
Well, it certainly makes you go back through his entire resume, and the lack of success he had in the conference championship games in Philly. But in this case, Mahomes, I never thought I'd be saying this. He just imploded. He just did not make a play. And I hate to hear people always say, well, the defense, you got to credit the defense. They get paid too. But that defense was really good. And that the way that they tackled, I think every defensive coordinator in the league should take a look at that. They got guys around the legs, so they put them on the ground. They didn't try to hit them high. There's so many guys that try to dish out punishment, defensive guys, and they miss the tackle and the guy gets 5 more yards. They got guys around the leg, including at the end of the first half when they threw to Tyree Hill at the goal line. Now, the first guy, Eli Apple, hit him high, and he bounced off him, but the other guy got him around the legs, and bang, he went down. They did a tremendous job of tackling, and that's one of the reasons why I really think they're going to win the Super Bowl. That defense, I think they're
wow.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper Kupp is going to be a real handful, but it's in terms of the way that they play defense and the adjustments that they make, that's the style of defense, by the way, that I'd want to play. Not no disrespect to John, but not this Jonathan Gannon,
What? Why do
put everybody back in Atlantic City, and don't let them get behind us to the water,
I don't care if you criticize Jonathan Gannon, but I will say that the Cincinnati Bengals played defense against Kansas City a lot like Jonathan Gannon would have. A lot of cover 2, a lot of cover 3, trying to make Patrick Mahomes be patient, and he wasn't able to be patient in the second half. In the first half, it looked ugly. He was great, and then all of a sudden, here comes the play at the goal line, and the guy falls apart, and he's trying to wait and wait. You saw the play where he almost fumbled at the end of the game. Patrick Mahomes deserves a lot of criticism, but that's what they played. They played Jonathan Gannon defense, and you want him to play it.
I can't believe I'm hearing that. Yeah.
Cover 2, cover 3.
Dropped 8 defenders in the second half. They don't bump in. Jonathan Gannon defense, the guys are frequently bumping into each other and pointing to each other.
Well, the difference
you
is
had
personnel.
Him or whatever.
You got Trey Hendrickson rushing the passer, who's great. You got
in
Logan Wilson playing linebacker, who's great. You got good safeties. The difference is personnel. They're playing the same damn scheme, Bob.
Yeah, no, well, I don't. I see the Jonathan Gannon scheme a little bit different than that, but it was that coordinator. I can't pronounce the guy's name.
Lou Anamuro.
Yeah, that guy is, there's a guy. There's a guy to keep an eye on. Although, the way that the NFL hirings are going, the way the NFL hirings are going, it doesn't,
Yeah.
This is really, I mean, how about that, guys? I mean, I still can't get over this. We're going to really, we're going to interview minority or black and minority candidates, and we're going to make sure that this that they get a fair interview and look at all this stuff. And then at the end of the day, what is there? One, Lovie Smith. I mean,
there's 2 if you want to count Mike McDaniel, but some people don't
right.
count
But I mean that the league is 70% black, and 85% of the head coaches are white. So they still haven't really done much. And oh, by the way, that would have been a great question to ask the commissioner this week, at his state of the NFL address. But I haven't seen any. Are they going to have that, John? I haven't seen any.
They're going to have it, but I think it's going to be live
on Zoom.
No, they're not going to have it on Zoom. It's going to be live at the Super Bowl. So that's one thing that is not going to be virtual. So we won't get an opportunity to be involved. That's why I feel left out, Bob.
All right. You half went there, Bob Grotz. I'm going to make you fully go there. Jonathan Gannon was up for the Texans job. Didn't get it. He's coming back here as the Philadelphia Eagles defensive coordinator. Good thing, bad thing, thing. How would you describe the fact that Gannon is back as Eagles DC?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't, I understand what John is saying that, trying to compare his style to the Bengals style, but that Bengals team, I mean, everybody, they have some personnel advantages, sure, but everybody on that defense, I mean, that defense is so well coached that everybody's on the same page. Now, I know that another year in the scheme, yeah, that'll help. But let's be honest too about the Eagles defense. There's going to be a lot of changes this year, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
the safeties, the linebackers. I mean, you know that the back end is going to be new. Probably the cornerbacks are going to be the same, but there'll be a lot of changes. I don't even know if Fletcher Cox is going to be back. I still think that the Eagles are they're going to ask him where he wants to be traded, and they're going to do something. He's going to redo his contract, and and if that happens, then in the draft, that may dictate where they go. And by the way, there's a couple of those. A couple of Georgia defensive tackles, not just Jordan Davis, that I would look at there. So, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of changes. So, and it'll be like that every year. Will Jonathan Gannon be able to make that happen? They did improve, but the Eagles did improve defensively over the season. But every time they played a good quarterback, they got killed. They got crushed. So, and early and late. So I'm not. Yeah, that's not I don't think that I'm sold on him yet. Put it that way.
All right, Bob. So we're going to put your Howie Roseman hat on. You start the process. You got 3 first-round picks, and not necessarily players, but what positions do you want to support the most? What do the Eagles need at the top of this draft?
The obvious to me is a pass rusher, and maybe one early, maybe one late. As I was saying earlier, that is the only way to play defense, and to tackle, and to tackle the guys when they get the ball, because it's unfair for the defensive backs not to be able to touch a guy, or risk being called for interference. So that's the first priority to me, and then you got to look at the safeties too. I don't know if the Eagles are, and even in the first round, the safeties, I don't know who I would take in that first round, except for the Notre Dame guy, and who's really good. And if something happened and you could trade up and get him, I would consider that. But I don't expect the Eagles would. But I would still be looking at, there have been some rumors about it lately. I'd still be looking at a Deshaun Watson thing. I still, if I don't have to give all 3 of those picks, if I can only give up 2 of those picks, I think I'd go that direction, because the more I look at the quarterback position, and I'm just reminded, looking at the playoffs, you need a guy like that to advance in the playoffs, and I don't think anybody. Well, it doesn't matter what the fans think, but I don't know if the Eagles even want to wait for to see if Jalen Hurts can be that guy.
All right, let me follow up.
A lot of work
that.
ahead.
So what if you got to give up 2 of the 3
and Jalen Hurts
2022 and another number 1 in 2023? But you get the number 1, you have the 1 draft choice this year, and you get a Deshaun Watson or a Russell Wilson for that matter. Would you consider that?
Yeah, I think I probably would. You don't want to burn too many resources, though.
Well, if you're thinking about 2023 and you got a quarterback and you're up at 12 wins, that draft choice, that future draft choice, isn't as important.
Yeah, but a lot of those wins are NFC East wins. Look at the Cowboys; they swept the division, and look what happened to them.
But it doesn't matter if you're down to 25 or 32. If you're down from that area, is that first round pick that important when you're down picking 25 to 32?
Right. It's definitely not worth as much when you're picking down, in the box. So yeah, and if you are that good, but yeah, and that's another thing. You look at the wins, the NFC East. I mean, oh my, just not. I mean, remember when it used to be?
It used to be
the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It used to be Super Bowl Central. There's so many champions coming out of the NFC East, and it's just in one of those cycles where we're kind of going the other way. So, and it's one of those divisions where you can easily say that Jalen Hurts is the second best quarterback in that division.
Here's the issue with trading for one of the top flight quarterbacks, be it Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson. And I just don't see Aaron Rodgers coming here. If he ends up here, he'll be happy as a clam. John and I are both huge Rodgers fans, although he stunk it up this year. Both Mahomes and Rodgers, the State Farm quarterbacks, both had lousy games this year in the playoffs, but I still think they're uber talented. Here's the issue with getting them for just 2 first-round draft picks. They just acquired a Super Bowl competing quarterback in Los Angeles this year in picking up Matthew Stafford, who's well into his 30s. So if you're talking about Watson, major difference in age. And oh, by the way, it cost them 2 1s, a 3, and their quarterback. So we'll put Jalen Hurts in the deal. Okay, but it's still going to cost you 2 1s and 3, and that's for Stafford. And I think the price for Russell Wilson and or Deshaun Watson will be higher than it was from Stafford because of age on both guys. In Russell Wilson's case, it's more accomplishment than age. You're not going to get him for just those 2 1s, Bob Grotz.
Yeah, well, you also don't forget about the suspension. He'll be suspended probably half of his first season, so you can't really count on a playoff berth that year. So that'll depress the price, or that'll give you a little bit better shot. But yeah, you look at the age difference. But the Rams always pay high prices for everyring. I mean,
they do.
You call the Rams on the carpet. They're playing in the Super Bowl this week, buddy.
You're right.
In case you didn't know.
Yeah. Which brings
it's like
up
a 1-year window.
Yeah.
This thing is gonna,
what
are they gonna have next year?
Yeah, this is an interesting contrast because the Rams built their team the way they built their team, and they went out and got all the stars and the Matthew Staffords, the Jalen Ramseys, the Odell Beckhams, Von Miller, on and on and on. And they have their homegrown talent, the Cooper Kupps of the world.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Andrew Whitworth, they got from Cincinnati, and he's still playing at 40. Versus the Bengals, who have to build through the draft, but made some good targeted free agent decisions, sort of like the Eagles did in 2017. Did the Rams change your thinking? Did we value these draft picks too much, Bob? Well,
no.
You see people hedging about Russell Wilson because he's 30, whatever,
right?
33. Who cares? I mean, you can play. We've seen you can play till later. They protect the quarterbacks in the modern game. Why is everyone so worried about draft picks that happen? And then in the next sentence, Bob, they'll say, well, Howie can't do anything with draft picks anyway. It makes no sense to me. Get the proven guy if you can get the proven guy. Haven't the Rams proven that to anyone?
Yeah, well, they're coming on. The Eagles are coming off a decent draft. It sure looks like. And a few years ago, the Mulata draft, that was a pretty good draft.
That was a really good draft.
And the one knock I always had on Doug, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in Jacksonville, is when he was there, he was more a veterans guy. He didn't develop those younger guys, so sometimes you couldn't really tell if they were bust picks or they just didn't really get that chance. So. That the cornerback in Green Bay. I mean, what did he have? 5 interceptions?
Yeah, Rasul.
I mean, but here he was a bust, And so, I mean, Doug, for whatever reason, he and his staff did not do a good job of getting those young guys ready to play. So, but I think the Eagles they had a good draft. Another back-to-back good drafts would be excellent for them, and they've locked up a lot of the young players that they've identified as guys that are going to help them going forward. I still think you got to get the quarterback situation fixed up. I mean, you just can't ignore the playoffs and look at your quarterback situation and say, well, we're set there. He's gonna take it to the next level. So you just can't count on that.
Hi, Bob Grotz. I Googled this morning and got no results, so I'm going to have to do my own research right here with you. If I had a stopwatch out and started it at 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon and only clicked it when you turned off the Pro Bowl, how many minutes would you have actually logged watching the Pro Bowl on Sunday?
I don't even think it was a minute. I think after about 58.7 seconds, after I saw guys just, walking through there, I saw an interception and no one wanted to tackle the guy. And I said, that's it. It was worse than the NHL All-Star game. I mean, God, and that's pretty bad. Yeah. So, wow, that just
see, but I'm telling you, even though you say you watch for less than a minute, I watched for maybe 10 total over 2.5, 3 hours, whatever it took to play the game. McMullen said, there was a Pro Bowl this weekend.
Yeah.
It'll still be the highest rated program of the weekend. I guarantee you. That's what I was looking up this morning. They haven't come out with the numbers yet. It'll be the highest rated, and not just sports program. It'll be the highest rated program on TV for this past weekend.
I don't know.
We'll keep that
I don't know about
going.
that. The men's short program in the
Olympics, there's some Olympic stuff that'll probably.
those costumes.
The Olympic ratings are severely down from what they used to be.
The short program though, the costumes that they wear and everything, people tune in to see that stuff. Yeah,
it's Blade of Glory.
That big on the Bob Grotz watch list. Yeah. You a short program guy?
No, I did see that guy last night. Yeah, I watched that American Chen. That dude just killed it last night. He was doing these quads. And
by the way, I'm neck and neck.
I had to watch that. It was tremendous.
I got zero Olympic minutes and zero Pro Bowl minutes so far. I'll probably catch some Olympics at some point, but not a lot.
Yeah, just real quick, guys. When Michelle Kwan was still skating, and this is how many years ago? I covered that State Farm U.S. Nationals at, I think it was the Wells Fargo Center, whatever it was. It was that building. Man, that was pretty cool. It was like, it was just U.S. people.
Michelle Kwan won. You sent me, who is this? And I got Michelle Kwan.
Yeah, Michelle Kwan. Still rocking it, man. But anyway, the Olympics too. I watched a little bit of that downhill, the super.
I like that. I like the luge. Is my favorite winter Olympic sport. Cool. I like the luge.
I'm a curling guy, but that's
okay. I'll give you that. The ratings are down. Yeah. And you know what? The probably the highlight of the Olympics was when the Chinese security guards grabbed the microphone from the Dutch reporter, and ushered him away, while he in the middle of a spot. How about that? A stand up and you get your stuff confiscated.
I think that's part of why the ratings are down. Is there's a political aspect to this. All right,
nasty.
Olympics aside, I'm getting both of you guys on the record.
The Bengals.
No, we haven't gotten to the Super Bowl yet. I got one more Eagles question for you first.
I like the luge.
What day is Jason Kelce going to tell us that either he's playing in 2022 or he's not playing in 2022? Give me a date on the calendar if you'd be so bold.
I don't have an exact date, but it'll be in March, right before.
Yeah, before the March 16th new league year. So the week before
and he's going to be back. By the way, he'll be back. He'll sign a new contract. He'll be
what
back.
Percentage you putting on that, Mr. Grotz?
Coming back, 101.
101. Wow. I'm writing that down.
Yeah. I was going to go 98. Bob went 101.
Well, that's good to know. That means Eagles won't be using.
Can you change that 110?
First round pick on the kid Linderman from Iowa, because if Mr. Kelce steps aside, they may just take a center with their first round pick. So that's good to know. All right, so you're heavily leaning on the Bengals in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
pretty good upset, huh?
I like what they do. Yeah, I like Burrow, and he figured after those 9 sacks by Tennessee. Remember, we're saying the Chiefs are just going to kill him. They're going to crush him. He's just going to get it's over for them. I mean, they figured it out, and I think they'll do the same thing in the Super Bowl. I mean, Aaron Donald and that pass rush up the middle that could change things. But Joe Burrow will figure out something to do. He'll either roll out, and he doesn't. By the way, he doesn't always roll out to his left or his right. So it's harder to take that side away. And I'm not making a reference to the guy who plays locally, but you always
can't go left, Bob.
You always know, exactly. You want to make him go to his left, his left hand or whatever, like in hoops. But I mean, he figures it out really fast, and he's got some weapons too. Those guys, Yeah, T. Higgins is really good, and
he's tremendous. Nobody talks about him because of Jamar Chase. He's tremendous,
and that dude is awesome, man. I mean, for a rookie, I remember thinking, I wonder if they did the right thing there, and should they have taken Penei Sewell? Wow, it's a good thing I'm not making the decisions there. So, but I like them, and Stafford. He just wanted to blow up the last game. You know, he threw the interception early. Yeah. He had a sign on his back that said "ready to implode," and they
but it
didn't happen.
You know, the interesting thing, Bob, about the NFC Championship game is you had two coaches and two quarterbacks just trying to implode the whole game, and it came down to who did it a little bit less, and that was the LA Rams and Sean McVay, because Jimmy Garoppolo, oof.
Yeah, that was ugly. The end of that was ugly. Yeah. That was the Super Bowl times 10, you know.
All right, let's get you on the record. You got the Bengals. You want to give us a score? Give us a feel for the game. How close is it going to be? They're going to blow them out?
No, I think there's going to be some points put up, too. I'd say about, what's the line, 3.5?
4.5.
4.5. It's gone up to 4.5? Oh, yeah. Man, I got to go out. I got to get to the bank right after this, and, you know. I can't take enough money out with the Mac card. Oh, man.
All right. You got to bet on the home team, the Cincinnati Bengals.
That's right. Don't forget, they're the home team.
I'll say kind of a weird score. 31 to 27. 31 to 27.
I'm going the over. What's the number? What's the over-under, Joe?
Over-under is only 48.5.
I'm going over.
Yeah,
I feel more strongly about that right now than I do even picking the Bengals. And I'm with Bob here. I think they got a chance to win the game. And if you think they got a chance to win the game and you're getting 4.5 points, you have to like them a lot. I like the over even more. I absolutely believe one of these two teams is getting into the 30s, and at 48.5, that's a must.
Yeah, I love the over.
It too. I like it too.
The over.
And if it doesn't happen, I want this game investigated. By the way, you know.
Well, there you go. And it's all Roger Goodell's fault too. And when in doubt, blame Goodell for everything.
Yeah.
We never blame Bob Grotz when he comes on with. We just thank him for doing just that. Bob, be ready. We might call you next week.
And by the way, I want to put a shout out to all the other guys that have been on this show. You know, they've done a great job. You know, I'm a loyal watcher. I would say listener. I'm a loyal listener, but
you it's always watch and listen at the same time. That's a key element to the show. So
sometimes I have to scroll forward a little bit, you know, when I hear, you know, but I always get to
me. I hear you. All right, Bob.
All right, guys.
G, always a pleasure, buddy. Thank you very much for doing so. We'll be in touch
Delco Times Pro Football Report on WBCB with the legendary Merrill Reese. I have to always say that with Bob Grotz. So.
And Grotz I'm sorry. He just makes me laugh.
He makes you laugh right away today.
God damn, he does. And he gets me coughing, too, at the same time. That's not good when you're on a broadcast. Sometimes at the radio, you can push the cough button. But when people are actually watching you, they know when you're actually coughing. Grotz does crack me up. All right, McMullen and McDonald coming back. We got to put a bow on the show. We got to put a bow on the week. And we got to get on the record. We both kind of just hopped on the record, if you were paying attention, as to the way we think the Super Bowl is going to go. We'll formalize that for you next here on Birds 365.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go for the view that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go to bed whenever you want. Or don't. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
You know you like being right. That's why you should enroll in an Independence Blue Cross plan. It's the health plan chosen by more people than any other, with more doctors and hospitals, more benefits that really rock, more of the coverage you want for the right price, including free doctor visits 24/7. It's a choice you can feel good about, because when you're right, you're right. And when you've got Independence Blue Cross, you're right where you need to be. Call 1-844-200-2583 today to get an Independence Blue Cross plan.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
John McMullen and Jody McDonald bringing to a close the week for Birds 365. We're going to get on the record here in the Super Bowl in a second. But I did want to point out, you asked me earlier, what show number is this for us? 212. Mac, I've done it 212 times. I missed one last week, overslept. John missed a bunch during the year when he had to get stuff stuck up his nose for COVID testing. But he and I have been here for the good majority of those 212 shows. And we're going to keep them coming your way after the Super Bowl, through free agency, through the draft. Very much looking forward to continuing this. The only thing that we're missing out on is I've been writing down 2 numbers before every show every day. How many shows we've done and how many days till the first Sunday of NFL football 2022. 2 days from now, they will actually meet. We would be doing show number 214, and we'd be counting down to 214 days before the Eagles actually get on the field in a game that matters. We're going to miss out on that because we're not doing shows. But I just wanted to note that 2 days from now, it would have been 214, a tie. Will the Super Bowl be a tie, Johnny Mac? The one thing you got to say about the NFL this offseason, last week or so, we've been talking about stuff off the field and coaching hires and lawsuits and everything else. But the on-field product has been damn good. After Wild Card Weekend, which, the Eagles contributed to because they were handled easily by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Divisional weekend, championship weekend, every game coming down to basically the last possession. 5 in a row, the last play. And then, yes, the Rams got to go into victory formation after they got an interception off Jimmy G. So it wasn't the very last play, but it was the last 2 minutes of the game. So the competition on the field couldn't possibly have been better here in this postseason. Are we getting that in the Super Bowl? Is it going to be a one-possession game with 2 minutes to go that the team trailing has the ball? Is it going to be that close in your mind, Johnny Mac?
I do think it's going to be a one-score game. I think it's going to have some Super Bowl 52 vibes for local fans. Maybe not that many yards, but I think it's going to be an explosive offensive game. And like you said, Jody, I'm much more confident in my pick of the over than who's going to win the football game, because I think it is going to be back and forth. Ultimately, I'm going to go against you and Bob Grotz. I'm going to go, I believe Damo picked the Rams. I'm going to pick the Rams. I think it's going to be, again, I'm going to go back to Super Bowl 52 when Brandon Graham made the play at the end of the game. I think it's going to be that. It might be Aaron Donald. It might be Von Miller. It might be Leonard Floyd. Very similar to what happened to Jimmy Garoppolo at the end. The Rams are going to get the lead, and they're going to. One of those guys are going to make a play at the end of the game. whether it's just a sack or something of that nature, because of the Cincinnati offensive line. But I think it's going to be a really close game and a high-scoring game.
I'm going to predict you now. We're rolling on this, right? This is on tape, so when it happens, we can just re-air this when we come back next week. A missed 65-yard field goal by the Rams that could have tied it up on the last play of the game. Mr. Gay comes up just short.
Well, he's definitely coming up short on 65. He
65. That's what he's got to try. A 65-yarder. He's the Pro Bowl kicker, right? He was supposed to kick this weekend. Oh, that's right. They didn't kick in the Pro Bowl game. Why did they have a kicker?
Jake Elliott.
Jake Elliott. Good job you had there, Jake. Hope you hope you made money while you were in Vegas. I know you got a slight check for playing, but if you were wagering while you were at it, they didn't ask him to do much with his right leg. Field goal, short or wide or whatever. Missed field goal by the Rams. Gives the win to the Bengals. Win by 3 points. Would have tied it. Send it to overtime. Fitting this entire playoff run. We should get some overtime in the Super Bowl. I say it comes up just short. And if you're playing the box pools, give you some wacky numbers. These numbers don't usually come out. Cincinnati 9, Los Angeles 6. 29-26. Cincinnati over LA in the Super Bowl with a missed field goal at the buzzer, keeping it from being OT. We'll see if I'm even close on that. I'm just making this stuff up as we go along.
Well, the one thing is over. If anybody takes anything from this and they want to put something down on the Super Bowl, over.
We're all leaning toward the over. We're over for a couple of days, Johnny Mac. I hope you enjoy your downtime. Explain to your wife you're still working for a living and you got to pay attention to football, even though you don't have to do Birds 365. You're going to get the dog out for a walk now?
Yes. First thing I do every day after I get off the air.
You and I both. My dog actually hears me drop the green screen from upstairs, and then she's waiting at the top of the stairs when I get there because she knows immediately thereafter she and I are hitting the backyard.
Yes, mine is right outside my door. She comes down at about 9:30 and starts to get ready.
Very nice. J-Mac, enjoy the Super Bowl on Sunday. You and I will get together again midweek next week. Again, our thanks to all you guys who stream in here every single day. Thank you very much for making the show successful and them wanting to continue to do it. Please do us the favor, hit the like button. Again, goes over my head.
Yes, like, share, subscribe, do it all.
They tell me that it's really important to keep the show going, that we get credits for every time you hit the like button. So please do so. Last chance for a couple of days because Mac and Mac are going away for a week. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody. We'll be back midweek next week to talk about this, about the upcoming free agency, the draft. Football never stops here on Birds 365. See you in a week.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.